Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast, your home for all things Chelsea FC. Nick, Dan, and myself cover all the match reviews from the latest Chelsea matches. We cover the team news and even throw you some exclusive interviews. Thank you already for being an awesome listener, and you know what? Let's jump right in. And we're back, Chelsea fans, with part 2 of the London is Blue podcast. Double feature. It's been a new norm, and haven't really gotten any negative feedback from it. So, I guess, Nick, I'm just going to assume no news is good news. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah. If we're not getting visceral hatred, I feel pretty darn good about it in this Twitter day and age.
Is that how low we've had to set the bar after all these years?
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like our audience has been good about letting us know when we suck, and thus far throughout the season, they have not overwhelmingly, Dan, let us know that we suck. So that's pretty good.
They did come after you for Beardgate, and rightfully so. That was deserved. They did not come after me for proclaiming that New York pizza is the best style pizza. Hashtag Pizza Wars. So I feel really good about that, Mike. I'm feeling good that it is the superior pizza, and we're not going to talk about that pie shit you get from Chi-Town.
Oh, jeez, there is no crust but thin crust, but that's just my East Coast bringing up. So
yeah, I mean, what does Seattle have when it comes to pizza?
They basically just fillet a
special
fish
pizza
and put sauce on it, and then throw it to you in a fucking fish market. That's what they do in Seattle.
Exactly.
It's the flying pie.
All right.
With some coffee on it and weed. That's how we do pizza.
Okay.
That sounds miserable.
Well,
to be fair, I think a lot of people could get behind that.
Yeah. Welcome to the West Coast, Dan.
Guess that wasn't oregano on that pizza after all. So anyways, let's go ahead. We have completely lost the plot here, and bringing it back is my duties as the host. We're going to pivot immediately into a reminder that we are going to London. I know, Nick, we talked about this on the last episode, but it is good to kind of let them know that we're this close to the match. Tickets are genuinely hard to get at this point for anyone, so just don't delay.
Don't delay. Yeah, exactly. We are super pumped to be going back to London. It is legitimately a thing that I earmark in my year now, and I'm so super pumped to go back. We have a really great trip that is going to be scheduled. So working on currently, we know that we'll be at Palace away, and Southampton home. We are also going to be extending our trip a little bit to do the FA Cup match the following weekend. So if you're interested in that, let us know. There are a couple of people in our group who are going to go to Watford on Boxing Day ahead of the trip. So that's pretty cool that they're doing that. And we're working on some other goodies too, like a live pod, like New Year's Eve plans, like New Year's Day hangover plans, and much, much more. So just really excited to see everyone. We already have about 25 people signed up. It's going to be raucous. It's going to be fun. We're excited to do it. If you have any questions, and I know we're kind of getting to decision day here in terms of people spending their money, but DM us, email us, contact@londonisbluepodcast.com, and we will take care of it, and we will make sure that you get your questions answered. So in that vein, let go.
Okay, here we go. We're going, guys. And to kick it off, as always, when it comes to these social media questions, we actually start with our Patreoners. And that is right. We did have...
Patreoners? Is that right?
Yeah, we had Patreoners.
No, it's not right.
And here's the deal.
That can't be right.
Listen. I messed up last episode. I didn't do iTunes views. I didn't do the Patreon names, so I'm going to do them now. That we had JL, Jacob, Dexter, and Ragav all joining the Patreon bandwagon.
Yeah.
Huge shout outs to all of you. And
Patrons.
The immediate perk you get for it is guaranteeing that we answer your question on part 2 of all of our episodes. So with that prize, that reward happening.
And Brandon, I do want to advertise the fact that everyone has kept them very match specific. It doesn't have to be that way. You want to ask Nick why he would think about shaving his beard, you can do that. If you want to ask Mike about Tin Can Audio from last week, you can do that. If you want to ask me for riveting takes on movies, you can do that. It doesn't have to just be.
Well, that was like the most muted,
Yeah, cool.
hot take question ever.
Cool.
You guys want to ask me about my favorite music?
Look, I'll also give you pizza reviews too, and talk to you about why Chicago pizza is terrible again. I could do that.
We'll ask you why you decided to live in Oakland, because there's got to be some good stories about that. But anyways,
Amsterdam.
San Francisco's too expensive. San Francisco's too expensive. Easy question.
It's got to be more exciting than that. Jacob from Patreon. This is what he says. He says, man of the match performance from Rudiger. He was impressive. I'll just put the same question I asked on Twitter here because I can't think of any more. Is it time to try Kovacic, Jorginho, Barkley midfield trio? Mateo looked defensively strong today, and I don't think he should have been subbed off. There were moments today where N'Golo looked lost, and I think we really could have used the attacking oomph that Barkley provides. Now here's the deal. I've literally asked all three of you this question over and over. So I'm just going to open it up and say, is there anyone out there that is like, yeah, we should bench N'Golo?
No. Like, look, man, Jacob, you're the man because you're on Patreon, and I respect you. However, I think, here's where I disrespect you. I'm kidding. What if that was the thing? What if, with all due respect, just came with a here's where I don't respect you? No. I think when you look at Jorginho's performance today, we had bigger problems than N'Golo, and I think Jorginho was, a lesser performance than N'Golo today. I do think everyone is really hyped about Barkley right now. When Barkley came on the field, he couldn't get a touch right. He really, really struggled. He let that 45-yard shot go 15 yards wide just because I think he wanted to prove something. And it was at that point where I was like, ugh, this is just not, he's too emotional about this game. The Everton fans are giving him a bunch of stick. He's just not into it. I don't think you can take N'Golo out of this midfield and have it perform as defensively solid as it has. And that's just my take, Mike.
I'm gonna disagree with you.
Oh.
I think that if any match we were gonna take Kante off, it would have been this match. He was on a yellow. I think it really curbed his effectiveness, and I do think that tactically in certain situations it would be nice to have Kovacic and Barkley on the pitch at the same time. I think if we're 20 minutes to go, if the opposition is just shutting it down and backing up to their own goal, then maybe we need to try something different. And I think this might have been an interesting attempt. I think, and in defense of Barkley, I think he's been at his best when he comes on relatively early in the second half, 65th, 70th minute substitution. So he has some time to get into the flow of the game. And I think, he probably had a lot of nerves or feelings or, was just trying to overperform probably. But I think this might have been a match to try it.
I think I'd brought that up as well, saying that I'm sure there's going to be some matches that you don't have to play him. But it's weird. It's I don't have to play him, but why would I not play a world-class midfielder? I guess I think that picking up that silly caution early, I think that did hamstring a little bit, Mike. So I think that today could have been, it's not like you had a bad game. You had to fight with one hand behind your back. And so we should have let someone who could gone and kind of disrupt play against Everton a little bit more. I think that makes sense. I'm sure Jacob's not saying permanently, again, I just think this is more of it's a different look, right? And right now we haven't done it in the Premier League. We've only really rested him in the Europa League. So, the part of it is you're not challenged in the Europa League, Dan. So you don't want to play him there because you're essentially wasting him. But it seems counterproductive to not play him.
You say not challenged though in the Europa League, but we only beat Bate 1-0. So I will say that I
chances
think,
were there.
Sure, chances were here in this game too. But it all comes down to what your final score was, and did you walk away with maximum points, or the position that you're looking for. I think generally, you can have one of a Ross Barkley or a Ruben Loftus-Cheek on the field at the time. You can have a Kovacic. on the field, because he's kind of a little more unique in terms of what he offers versus Kante, and then Jorginho is kind of the one that there's Cesc as a backfill, and that's really it right now. I think in that regard, you could try it, but I'm sure they've tried that on the training ground. Just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean that they haven't tried that formation to see what it looks like. And I'm sure at some point we will see something like it potentially. But I think you have the key to the system is both off-ball movement and then also like what do you do in terms of the possession when you have it. And as much as Ross has improved, and I think in a lot of ways categorically from his time at Everton and even when he first had some shots at the Chelsea first team here, is he does lose possession a little bit. He will work to get it back, but in terms of retaining possession, if you have Kovacic, Kante, and Jorginho, you're more likely going to have then the opportunity with possession to create the opportunity to score. And I think that's where I don't necessarily see Kante, because of the way he presses down, because of his off-the-ball movement. He's very integral in winning the ball back in a way that Ross isn't. Not to say that Ross doesn't offer more going forward in terms of an attacking threat, but it's what do you want out of this midfield? And I think that's going to change from game to game, and so that it is situational to an effect. But there's also some core tenets. A core tenets of Sarissimo is possession, and that's where Kante over Barkley is going to be the reason why he starts, every match.
Huh. Well, okay then. As always, opening the door to our audience. Appreciate the call, Jacob. Next one from Akshay says, does anyone think that Sarri is a little stuck on his substitutions, in parentheses, not that it's been a particularly bad issue so far, being unbeaten and all, but, for example, when it was clear that all Everton was playing was for a draw after the 60th minute, I would have liked to see some creative subs to help. One scenario would be to swap Fabregas for Jorginho, but leave Willian on and swap Kovacic for Pedro. Having Kante sitting in the defensive mid for the last 20 would have allowed Willian Fabregas to push up from midfield, while Hazard, Alonso, Pedro caused chaos on the wings. I just don't think the like-for-like subs were inspiring today. We're at a point where draws are looking like losses when trying to keep up to Man City. He wrote that, not me. And Liverdrool, again, not my work, who are unbeaten in the league as well. Mike, was Sarri not creative enough? This goes back to, is he too set on his system? Is it too rigid?
It's kind of hard to say he is, being that we are in the position that we're at. But at the same time, I do think that we need to have a little bit more dynamic or a different look. At 12 games undefeated, it's kind of hard to say the system's broken. 8 wins, 4 draws, but I think that Fabregas coming on was uninspired. If we're in a match and we're dealing with a younger, more mobile regista being shut down and overpressured, how in the world is Cesc going to change things? And I know that the thought is that, and we did see it, where Cesc is more willing to play a ball over the top and more direct rather than side-to-side passing, and I respect that. I just don't think that. I don't know, Nick. I didn't think that was going to break the Everton press.
Probably not. Like, look, I think we said this very early on when it was very clear that Jorginho is like the metronome of the team, right? If he's not in there, the team doesn't pass the ball the same way as when he is. So if he's having an off game, I think it probably would benefit you to maybe move N'Golo Kante back and then throw Ruben or Barkley or some combination thereof into the game just to see what happens, right? That's if we're already passing the ball slow, then why not have that defensive solidity back there? So that's just kind of my take on it. And it's not as if I don't think that, unlike Mike, I think Cesc still has something to give to this team. I'm not sure how much he has left, but I do think he has something left to give. But in today's match, then just do a little bit of a switcheroo, moving N'Golo Kante back, and then move Ruben or Barkley into that spot and switch it up a little bit, Brandon.
What I would say that this is only the second time Chelsea have failed to score a goal in the Premier League. The other one being the 0-0 draw against West Ham. So overall, it didn't work today because we didn't score. But kind of like Mike said, and Nick, and I think we're all kind of leaning towards it has been working with very minor blips. So is he rigid in a system? Yes. But is it working so far? Probably better than most of us expected. But to be fair, I give actually some credit. I think that he had some creative ideas. Again, fine margins in the Premier League, kind of hard to get in and talk too much about it. So anyways, Patreon, thank you guys so much. Next up, the only real question here from at Knox_CFC, the Knoxville Blues, saying, why is everything terrible? I mean, Dan is the pessimist on the pod. I just tell us what is going on in your life right now. Help us understand how we can help
Dan.
you.
I think we need to kind of understand and take a moment to get with our friends in Knoxville to understand where they're at emotionally. There are resources we can help point them to in order to assist.
Was it the pizza comment from earlier? Is that what you guys were upset about? Because if you are upset about that, you're wrong and feel worse.
No, I don't think this is an unprecedented run for a new Premier League manager, and the team is I think genuinely outperforming, and there's been a couple of results that are kind of head scratchers or hard won, and I don't know. I don't think things are terrible. I'm generally excited about what we'll continue to do and see under Sarri. So no reason to be disappointed. That would be a really bad place to be. We should be very happy about where we are currently.
That's the wrong answer. Dan's jokes are the reason why everything is terrible.
Potentially.
Mike has been waiting to just drop that in for months. Finally gets a chance, and it's like you can see him warming up his hands. Just here we go. I'm about to drop.
I'm going to put a poll on Facebook or on Instagram. We'll see.
We got a tweet, I want to say last week, that there weren't enough Dan-isms. And so I think Dan's bringing it extra strong this week.
Did Dan pay someone to say that or what?
I just hired a couple firms out of Cambridge Analytica, and they did all the work for me.
Yeah, it was at definitely not Dan Dormer.
That all checks out to me. I think we're good.
So the next round of questions we did get were a lot about tactics here. So I know that this kind of leaned into it, but Jesper Farso saying, why is it so easy to shut us down? Aerith Muggle saying, do you think our inability to break teams down is a personnel issue, i.e. not making enough runs into the box, or something about the players, or is it more tactical? So is it a personnel problem, or is it a tactical problem? Football Fan 2016 says, why can't we play one-touch football, aka the real Sarri ball? And then John Lascano saying, is it time to explore a different formation strategy? So, and to be fair, there was so many more. Ugo, Rake, Elk, Malcolm, Shetty Mike, just, well, speaking of not burner counts, Mike. When it comes to tactics, I guess I am pretty interested, Nick, in hearing what you guys think. If it's a personnel or maybe a tactical issue with Chelsea right now.
God. I mean,
can it be both?
Yeah, like that was kind of going to be my point. Like there are some days, for Aerith Muggle here, there are some days that our players don't play to their maximum ability. Thus, it becomes a personnel problem. Then there are some days where, and I think Everton did a really great job at exploiting the Jorginho, role today, where it becomes a system or a tactical problem. And there are some days, it's been a rare day under Sarri where both of those things kind of come to a head at the same time, and we have a below average performance. Usually we're able to compensate for one of those. I think teams take a gamble to think that we'll have both of those happen. So, I don't know, man. I think it was just an off day, and without getting too upset about it. And I realize that we're in a top 4 fight for our lives here, and there's a lot on the line. I don't underplay that at all. I think there are just some days where you kind of just have to, go home and do better the next time out. And, I don't know. I don't want to make it a hell of a lot more complicated than that, Mike.
I've been trying to think about why we're struggling, and my take on this is that I think our front 3, front 6, I think we're getting bullied. I think too often when you watched Palace attack us and get their equalizing goal, we have teams that are attacking us straight down the middle. They get close to the final third. They might spread it out wide before crossing it back in, and it's effective. I think we are too reliant on pushing it to the outside. We stick along the perimeter of the 18 and try to pass, just a lot of sideways passing that's not that fast. And I don't think we're doing a very good job of, having a real target man at times. And I think we're just getting bullied around, and teams are realizing that we don't have big physical players. Morata's our biggest player of the 6 of the midfield and the forwards today. And it just, I don't know. I think we're just seeing teams kind of kick through us, and it pushes us back a little bit more, and we just try and get fancy, and it plays into their defensive compact formations. And I think we need to try and attack in a different way.
I think we've kind of probably beaten this particular point into the ground, and I think Nick was heads on that ultimately it's come down to the type of match. I think in general, the tactics have been exceptional and have elevated the players, and the players have let the system down for the majority of it, except in this scenario, as regards to defending those 2 lines of 4 and having alternative plans for it. I think generally the tactics have been extremely astute, and it's down to personnel not being able to execute, less so it being an issue of the tactics not being set up for success.
All right. Well, a part of the tactics, obviously, are the players and if they can carry out the tactics. And so this might surprise you all, but we had a ton of questions about Alvaro Morata in this episode. And a huge shout out to at 38 Blues, who gave us this nice little jingle to intro us into our striker talk.
Stand by for today's striker update in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Give me a position.
The name's Striker. I'm sitting down and facing front.
Striker.
All right, and with that, here we are, the striker segment. Unfortunately, though, it's going to be pretty short because, Mike, we've only got 2 of them. And Alvaro was the man that Sarri went with today. So, with that being said, Chad Pierce hitting us says, is it just me or does Morata have more passion for arguing with the officials than he does throughout the game? Jeff Boston saying, why is it so difficult? First Kante, now Sarri, to coach the falling to ground, whining, complaining out of Morata. Lucas Bird saying, considering how young Alvaro Morata is, how long do you think the club will hold on to him and hope he grows? NJ Skurs saying, is it time to get a real striker in January? Jason White even piling on saying, I'm done with people saying we need to give Morata time. He's been here almost a season and a half and he's not good enough. He's a diver, a constant motor, and doesn't have the right attitude. Guys, I'm trying here. I'm not seeing anything positive, unfortunately. I'm not really seeing anything that resolves this. M. Wakanga Francis saying, we need an aggressive striker with the likes of Didier Drogba and Diego Costa. I don't know. All right, so again, we have 2 strikers. You have one that is much better at setting up goals and scoring them, which is World Cup winner Olivier Giroud, who Eden Hazard has said he loves playing with. And then you have Alvaro Morata, who was on a bit of a heater and unfortunately reverted back to type this week. So with all that being said, I think Maurizio Sarri has put a lot of faith in Alvaro, but the end quality, Dan, if we're being cutthroat in trying to manage the club, not as fans, but as, achieving the high levels of success that Chelsea needs, where are we at when it comes to the strikers?
Well, first off, I feel like we should have had like a direct sponsor after that, because that was a clear miss with the wonderful work that Corey did for us. I would say second, Alvaro Morata, I believe, has 4 goals, 5 games. Obviously today was not a great outing for him. Look, I think you want to have a amazing 1 or 2 competition between our top 2 strikers, and I would say that based upon current production, neither of them is the one striker, right? They're both like 2A and 2B. So you would hope that we would go out and reinforce the position with another individual who will challenge and make them better and provide competition. Ultimately, like, we are not where we should be competitively from an attack standpoint. I mean, you have Eden Hazard, who's the one of probably 2 world-class players on our entire team next to him and N'Golo Kante, like top 3 of their position in the entire world. That is not Morata, that is not Giroud, that is not Willian, that is not Pedro. Like, the attack as a whole, like, to broaden it just a little bit, is suspect compared, even with the current output, which is better than it has been over the past couple matches. As Eden Hazard has struggled a little bit, Morata comes up with a couple goals. Giroud comes up with a goal finally. Like, he was really desperate for that one, very, very thirsty for it, Nick, and it finally came good. But they're both a 2 option, right? They're not number 1.
So every time I watch Alvaro Morata, I look at movement more than anything else. Is he in position to receive the ball and put it in the net? Or is he causing enough chaos with his runs so that Eden or Willian or even a Barkley or a Ruben has a chance to free up and score? There have been some games where he's been very good in that, and some being like, I would say 20% of his total games at Chelsea where he's been very good. And he's given the opposing backline fits. And there has been a majority, at least in my mind, Mike, where he has not done that. He's not been ready to receive the ball. He's not made the right runs. He's been flopping all over the place. And frankly, for a guy who gets, I think as much trust and as much, frankly, as much money as he does to do the thing that he's born to do, the easiest thing to coach out is the flopping. If the movements aren't right, or you're playing against an especially stingy opposition or whatever, I think we can all forgive that. But man, that part really bums me out. And it's not to say that he can't get over it. It's just to say that we've seen him be good. So now we have an expectation that he can do that, and he's just not doing it.
Yeah. I think this is a really tough question, because so often when we're talking about Morata, are we talking about that specific performance, or are we talking about as a whole? And I think it's really hard, even when he has 4 goals in a couple matches, everybody's just looking at the past, and it's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. I think he is I think he's the scapegoat for this match, because I think he had a legitimate penalty call with the defender tackling him in the box, grabbing him by the neck and pulling him down as a ball came in. And I think that had that happened, had the right call been made, we're somewhat miffed by the match, but we're not kind of tearing him apart. I think that as a whole, our team did not play well. Eden had 15 minutes of magic, right? And was gone for 75 minutes. So I think Morata gets just too much crap, and I'm sure everyone will hate me for this, but he falls down too much. And he was, I don't know how he was only offsides 5 times, because I felt like it was at least 10 times. But he's not the only problem on this team, if we're going to be honest.
That was your boy Trina Chase saying, should Murata have been subbed off the side today? That was well played, Trina Chase.
Well, here's my thing. If the forwards aren't going to do it, then they should be providers to those who can do it. And Giroux has a great track record of setting up other players to get their goals. And he will occasionally, be a threat on a cross or a set piece and other things like that. So, I don't know. We were singing Morata's praises last week, and rightfully so. But then we've immediately gone right back to the things we praised him for not doing, and that's where we stand. So to me, it sucks that we have to sit here and have this discussion of who's the better of the worst two options that we have. And part of it is maybe because we don't have a third striker on the roster. We've talked about potentially playing Pedro up there. Nick talked about in part one the fact that maybe Willian's just not cut out for this type of play, which does that mean we should be looking at that Malcolm trade mid-season with Barcelona? I don't know. To me, I'm leaning towards Giroux right now, and I'm not writing anyone off. I'm just saying as it stands, if our best players are Pedro and Hazard for scoring goals with a little bit of Ross Barkley on the side from midfield, then we should be doing everything in our powers to get them the ball in dangerous areas so they can do their thing.
I thought you were going to go with a little Mambo number 5 there,
It was a hint.
A little bit of Barkley on the side.
Yeah. I mean, look, it was like that was playing in my head as I said it. So, yeah, I was surprised people picked up on it.
I got a question that falls right into that. So my question...
Oh, no, Mike, this is opportunity for listeners to have a question.
No, I want to know from the three of you, should Willian have passed the ball to Murata instead of taking that shot?
Both options are right. You'd expect him to score if he takes a shot.
I expect Willian to shoot that ball every single time. He had all the time and space to put that ball, at the far post, nestled in the corner, or to blast it near post. Neither one of those options would have been wrong, and he fucked both of them up.
He should have passed it.
Murata was,
as we know, he never scores over 10 goals in a season, so he should be playing his own odds and set someone else up to score.
I mean, pass it to Fumble Feet and see what happens.
I mocked you for a moment, and even though I did that, I know the right answer.
You guys really think he should have passed it?
I think
Absolutely,
if you look
100%.
back, I think Willian is very hesitant to pass it to Murata.
Yeah.
And but the thing is Murata's no. We're not talking about Fernando Torres who's kicking a ball out of an open net. Murata can finish. There are times where he gets tripped up or he does something that's not great.
I know,
but he would have finished that. He would have tapped it in. It should. I mean, it would have been a difficult, somewhat difficult of a pass, but I think the right pass is to put it across the box.
I guess my point is that if it goes in, we've seen that, right, where there's a teammate wide open, but the person on the ball has enough class or skill or talent, and they just bury it, so it doesn't matter. So to me, it's like he had a wide open shot in a great situation. Both options were right because Willian has the class and the talent and the ability to bury it. He just didn't. So you know what I'm saying? Like if you play that 10 times over and they split 5 and 5, I'm okay with that. It just hindsight, right? Hindsight, he missed, so it was the wrong option.
Right, but I mean, how many times in growing up have we seen that go out and Willian or your teammate hits it and you see him get pulled and sat by a coach because he's just being selfish and trying a lower percentage shot that actually worked as opposed to playing team football.
But there was two he was 2 paces in front of the nearest defender. He was 2 paces in front.
He didn't have to take it all himself. If you watch,
but he had an angle too. He had an angle. It wasn't as if he was like closed down one side or the other. I mean, he had plenty of angles.
The only thing that matters is converting it, and he didn't convert because he was selfish.
Look, we've all on this podcast said at some point or another, Willian and Hazard need to be more selfish at some point. Like, we've all said it, and unfortunately, like, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He fucked this one up. It doesn't mean that it was the wrong idea to rip a shot. It just means that you have to do better than that. Like typically, if it would have been like a weird, he has to chip it at a weird angle over the goalkeeper, and it's a really like a Class A finish that he has to put in to score the goal, then of course the better option is let's pass it to the side and let's have a little tappy tap. But at the end of the day, he has two really good options. And he chose neither, and like that really sucks. Like we wouldn't be having this whole game discussion if he just would have ripped one near post where Pickford has no shot at even deflecting it out. Like it just is a bummer that he missed it. You know, like I don't know, like that didn't frustrate me nearly as much as like the consistent offsides or anything like that in the game. To be completely honest,
they were bad offsides. I mean, they were lazy and just unaware offsides that he has to know better.
He does.
All right. Well, we'll throw it out to the social media sphere again. Who's right, Nick and Brandon, that William was fine shooting, or Dan and Mike that he should have passed the old fumble feed over there?
Let the score show.
Great way to position it.
Who was right?
No better American phrase than fumble feed.
I mean, Dan, I'm setting this up to be as minimal biasness as possible. I mean, clearly, I presented an argument first.
Also, definitely a word.
All right. Anyways,
dude, you're killing me right now. Bias.
Here's a funny question for you, Dan. We'll go ahead and we'll bring it back the brevity to this, the levity, not brevity. Anyways, Dino Mansour 321. Is Callum Wilson good for us?
This would be to the rumors that we would go after Callum Hudson-Odoi, right? Like that we would play him. Right, that's what we're talking about.
Go after him.
No,
too.
I think they're saying Callum Wilson is a potential January striking target.
No, I mean, sure, he'd be good. He's fits a lot of profile criteria that the club like. He's mid plus 20s. I think he's 26 years old. He's English, which is another thing that the club has looked for in the past couple windows to add to the squad. He's done well under Eddie Howe and playing. Howe's football is really inspired by Sarri a little bit, so we have some level of understanding of the system. He does have a repaired ACL, which obviously, again, as technology has improved and medical science has improved, is not the end-all, be-all of someone's career, and people have seemed to come back from it quicker and more sturdier than they have before.
He has two, right? Doesn't he have? I think he has both. I think he has his right and left done. Yeah,
the double. Yeah, he is the bionic man. So I would like to see us aim a touch higher if possible, but it's not a bad one. I do believe Eddie Howe has dismissed any willingness to part with that, but obviously money talks sometimes. I feel like it would be an exorbitant fee because of the Brexit tax. And Nick, I would rather, if it's going to be a lot of money, like go after an Icardi or someone of that ilk.
You're not going to pull Icardi out of Inter Milan during Champions League for Europa League, right? I mean, right?
As Kevin Garnett once said, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
And I think we all need to realize that as words of wisdom.
Okay, well, either way, I would say I'll let Nick talk about Callum Wilson, but he's not technical enough. I mean, he's speed and power. That's his game, and I don't think Sarri is interested in that.
I don't see, like, I understand why. We've been linked with some of the striker targets we've been linked to, and I think, those players are just, above all, they're just Class A finishers. I don't care if they're poachers. I don't care if they're speed merchants. I don't care if they're physical Drogba types. All of the ones that we have legitimate links to over the past year at least have been just Class A finishers, and that is what we need. If you look at this squad and you're thinking, hey, what is this squad missing? It's a Class A finisher beyond Eden Hazard, who obviously is. So whoever we pick up at whatever point needs to fit that bill and contribute 20 goals a season. That's the end-all, be-all of this discussion. If we pick up someone, again, who does less than that in that role, we would have failed, because that's not what we need. So as you're evaluating your own striker targets, audience, and we know that everyone has their preferences and players they like, ask yourself, is this player a Class A finisher? Do I have proof that this player is a Class A finisher? Is it not just a YouTube reel that's convincing me that this player is a Class A finisher? If so, super, bring him in. If not, evaluate other targets.
Okay, well, we're going to end this one with hella controversy, as the youngins say. Mike, coming at you hotter than you can probably handle. John on Facebook saying, is getting a top-class attacking right back a possible solution to our system's failure in order to hit top gear? I think if we could move Dave to the back line and have an attacking option on the right to link up with Pedro or Willian and chip in with goals and assists, the team will feel a lot better rounded. Hot take alert, Srajan Khatri1 on Instagram saying, should we play Zappacosta instead of Azpilicueta? Azpilicueta is obviously our captain and a world-class defender, but his crosses have been haphazard at best, while Zappacosta has been somewhat impressive in Europe. So Srajan just said we should take out a world-class defender to put in a somewhat impressive defender.
That's my favorite. My favorite line in that is somewhat. Like, hey, stop eating New York pizza to have a somewhat less impressive Chicago pizza. You know, should we change our perspective there, Brandon? Thoughts?
Well, I appreciate you trying to take my job, but no, sir. I pitched it to Mike.
Yeah. I don't think that. I think the problem is at right wing and potentially in the right midfield position for our offensive-ish woes, if you want to call them that. I don't, we were talking about this morning, and like at a certain point where we're going to start saying that Kepa needs to be making more assists with long balls to help our issue. There's only so much propping up that you can do, and I think, you're not going to get me on the record on tape saying that I think that Azpilicueta should be benched for something else, because I don't think that's what's best for the team at this point.
Yeah, what the club should do though is take a look at the work that Reece James is doing on his loan, because while you might want to look at some of the Crystal Palace's right back Bissaka. Yep, that might be another one that you might want to go after, but it might be a little bit cheaper, which the club does like at times, and give you that wonderful benefit of having grown-up players through your academy and youth ranks to bring Reece James back to be competitive for that spot, because I think he is doing everything you would want to see out of someone who could fulfill that role for Chelsea as being that dominating right back in this system. Because I think, Mike, you're right that we do have problems on the right wing, but the way that this system works is there's a lot of ball play being pushed forward, and the interchange between Azpi, Kante, and Willian or Pedro is atrocious between the three of them. Some of the times we call it Kante because it's really either an issue with Azpi or Pedro/Willian in terms of like where they are. Like the three of them are not operating in the same mind sphere at times, and it has caused problems. Reece James would solve a lot of the speed and ball handling issues that we would like to see. But it's not to say that Dave, again, shouldn't be given time to continue to try to improve in this position. I think he did really well against Zaha in terms of shutting him down, and it kind of gave the left flank a little bit more of an opportunity to push forward. So it's just going to be, how do we balance that appropriately?
All right, and then to wrap it up, why are we wasting Christensen away on the bench? All Aboot E saying, how long are we going to play David Luiz over Christensen? He slips up too regularly. And then Larry on Facebook saying, my question is one that's been racing through my mind since Thursday. What are we doing with our young talent in Christensen? Are we not in jeopardy of losing him? He should be the future, but that looks highly doubtful given the lack of trust Sarri is giving him. It seems we are likely to lose our future anchor. What's your take, fellas? Because I am actually really worried about this. Let's see. Who bought the Christensen kit recently? How you feel about that? Good decision, or was that a curse?
I feel fine because he will. I have a Hazard jersey too, so let's hope it's not a curse.
Oh,
It would be quite unfortunate. No, I mean, I think it's going to be fine. I think he's getting more playing time now with Europa League. I think again, he's one injury away from being a starting center back for us. If you look at the lineup that came in for this past match, you were looking for left and right for Cahill, and he wasn't to be found. It was Christensen who was on the bench, so he was the next man up from a center back perspective. So. Look, I think he's had a couple rough games, to be fair, as someone who is an admirer of the work that he does in the pitch. I do think, though, Nick, that, again, I think it's going to be solved. He's getting playing time now. The games are coming fast and furious. The rotation will be there. We'll get a chance to see him. And if he should start ahead of David Luiz, it will happen. It will happen naturally, and we should just be excited for it. We should not wish ill on David Luiz, but we should be excited for Christensen taking a shot when he gets it.
Yeah, I understand that people are Christensen fans, but after a performance like today, where I thought David Luiz played really well for the most part, why do we have to burn our own house down to erect a new house at that point? I think David Luiz has played relatively well throughout the year. I understand the ball movement may not be as fast as we would like, but and there's the occasional blip there. But it's not like he's not like he's really that bad right now. I think he's actually playing pretty well. So I don't know. I like Christensen a lot, but if he was better than David Luiz, he would be playing most of the time. That's all there is to it.
Amen to that. Let's be honest. If Christensen is smart, he's going to spend this year learning, working on his ball handling, learning the system. Luiz is 31, right? I mean, he's not got that many years in front of him, and Christensen needs to just outperform him to get the spot. I don't see what people are seeing, thinking that with the performance that Christensen has put in, that somehow he should be starting against Premier League opponents with how he's played in Europe. And I get the idea of not wanting us to lose young talent, but we're always going to be stuck in this situation of having, a senior team that has world-class stars, and that we're always going to have younger kids running up into certain spots in which, it's pretty hard to take a Hazard's place and certain things. And, the academy hasn't produced always the players that we wanted, but we're moving in that direction. And I think...
Well, so I think to the point you're making, though, ultimately, I think where the concern is that people have around Christensen as this example is, you've seen other players who, have not been able to get time in the Premier League go off to the Bundesliga and become extremely successful. Sancho is a really great example of that. Christensen has shown an ability last season, for multiple matches, that he has an ability to play at a Premier League level. And I think right now it's just a matter of a competition between him and David Luiz is fierce. And it's not a matter of that Christensen isn't talented enough, but the opportunity is not there. And that could be just eating away and saying, look, I want to play for my national team regularly. I want to play for a club team regularly. I don't want to waste my career playing behind someone. And I think it's just, it's going to be personnel management. And what we've seen from Sarri so far is that he seems to be very capable of managing some pretty extreme, wonderful personalities on our team. And I don't think Christensen will be different from that. I think what he's shown over the course of this, and this obviously is the gawking from his father, not necessarily him, but I think he's shown himself to be a professional as well. And I think this will resolve itself naturally and in a positive way for him and the club. I don't think it's going to be a matter of he's going to be gone in January, we're never going to speak of him again, or that he's going to go in the next window. He has a future at Chelsea, and it will be actualized as long as he can live up to his end of the bargain. And we just, again, Luis doesn't have an eternity to play. And, eventually, like, you're going to have to figure out who that next person is. And hopefully we're just not looking at, someone else internationally, because you want to be able to spend big, like on Kepa, every window on a player. But if you're constantly buying squad players for 20, 30, 40 million pounds, you will never be able to do that. And like, the squad players need to come from the academy. Otherwise, why have one of the best academies in Europe? That would be stupid. And so I don't believe the club would be stupid. I don't believe the people who run it to be stupid, but it would be stupid to not make sure that there is a great pathway from one to the other. Brandon.
I think he'll leave.
After all that thoughtful discussion, Brandon has his own agenda on the show.
Well, but let's also be honest. The thing that kills me is that there is... Anyone who has played the sport knows there are times in which you're competing for spots, especially against older competition. You have to do something absolutely special to take an upperclassman's starting position. And to me, the difference between Chelsea and the difference between some of our North London foes is that go to Spurs, get all the playing time you want for 21-year-old kids, and guess what? What's in their trophy cabinet, right? A bunch of dust. And the difference is that Chelsea makes sure that they have senior vetted players that do well. And it's not that we can't have youth playing. It's just at times it's pretty damn difficult to get into that rotation. But nobody's complaining about it when we're lifting trophies. So I think we have to try and just weigh the difference and say, yeah, we want our youth to come through and develop. But at the same time, we're here to win trophies and silverware and compete. That's my 2 cents.
To be fair, though, that's why I'm not a Spurs fan. Is I have allergies, and the dust is actually just kicks up, and it's too much. Just need a little.
What if they actually did have an empty trophy case at their grounds and let it get dusty? Like, what if that is the reality that we are laughing about right now?
Look, I put nothing past them. They're useless, and unfortunately for us, we have to play them next. So,
good.
Let's just go.
Good segue.
You mean unfortunately for them?
Sure. Or whatever.
All right. So before we hit it, because we are actually just going to essentially talk about it and wrap it up. Nick, again, we have a second code for everyone to use at World Soccer Shop before we wrap up.
Correct. In addition to code LondonPod, we have, which will get you 10% off. We have code NEWKITS for, let's pretend that you're going to buy one of the new Chelsea kits.
The yellow kit.
One of the 3. The yellow kit's the best. Look, I'm not going to lie. Like that's our preference, but if you're going to buy one of the 3 available options, code NEWKITS will get you free shipping on new kits. That expires on the 18th of November, so take advantage of that pretty quick. And that way you get the free shipping, then you get the 10% off. And all we're really doing here is just saving you a tremendous amount of money. So you've heard it here first. Go do that. Bam.
All right. Like I said, we are out of time, but we do want to remind you that it is an international break this coming weekend. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. Hopefully we have some content for you, but just in case, the next match are Spurs. It will be a Premier League match. It will not be at White Hart Lane. And it will be Saturday, November 24th, right after Thanksgiving for all of you American supporters out there.
Is it because their stadium was well constructed and on time in terms of being available to play there?
Yes, it's just too nice, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, I'm glad they didn't have any major mishaps or anything with that, so that's good to hear.
Yeah, they're advertising it's the best place to watch the Champions League in London, and, I'm looking forward to when we go over there. Maybe we can catch a Champions League match in the new stadium, the new White Hart Lane, Nick. That would be a good idea.
Unfortunately, though, Dan, and I'm not sure if you know this, not only are they not moving on in the Champions League.
What?
Unbelievable. Their stadium won't also be done. So maybe there's like a TV outside of the stadium or something, perhaps.
Well, when you build a stadium that looks like a toilet bowl, you should expect shit.
Oh.
Nailed it. Anyways, that's it. That's all we got. We got Spurs or shit next, and that is really where we have to leave it, unfortunately. Just a reminder, the top 4: City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs. So it's a big match from that standpoint. I mean, a draw isn't the end of the world, but obviously we want to go to fake White Hart Lane at Wembley and beat them. That is an absolute must. It would be a statement game as we continue our run for the top 4, for the title, however Brandon, have set your expectations. Yes,
just a quick query for you. Chelsea, do they have a good record at Wembley? Perhaps even winning silverware, or is that a figment of my imagination in which we have lived the last 10 years as a lie?
Look, if you were to ask...
It's not the oregano, Nick. It's actually reality.
I see where you're going with that, Dan. You're in a whole new era over there in Amsterdam.
Yes, many great memories. Let's just ask not retired Didier Drogba how much he loves Wembley.
Okay, good point about that then.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for listening, Chelsea fans. You have been absolutely amazing, and we appreciate all of the social media questions you threw at us this week. They were top class as always. But that's it. That's all the time we have for this week. Hopefully you enjoy your international break. Hopefully you find something to do with all that free time in your hands. Us, we have no idea what we'll be doing. But anyways, until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.